everybody. Welcome to Minnesota Black Robe Regiment podcast, MBR Pod. I'm TC, and the two of you that are already watching know that already, but I'm saying this for anybody who comes back later on and watches. So yeah, I'm TC, and this is my channel. It has been since I started it, believe it or not. It's all mine. It's all mine, and I don't share. So let's get the ancillary stuff out of the way while we're working to get some people in here. Not that Jugalassus and Snarky User don't count. You guys do count. Like, wow, said you dropped out right away. There for a second I was talking to just the two of you, and then it said nobody. I'm like, man, I haven't really said anything of substance yet. And everybody's dropped out. Maybe if I just put a picture of chickens behind me, everybody would tune in. So, wait, don't tell me to speak faster, Bip. I have to fill the time. I'm stalling for views. I'm stalling for views. 2 times faster, please? No, I'm not speaking 2 times faster. I don't do that. I don't work for you. You're not the boss of me. Yeah, anyway, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the stream, then come back, comment on the stream for the algorithm, or on the video for the algorithm, and then make sure you share it out then too. And oh boy, if you and also if you haven't joined as a channel member yet, please do so. And if you know somebody that could benefit from this, hey Lou. If you know somebody that could benefit from this content, give them a gift membership. Get them hooked. It's like a taste of crack. My content is like a taste of... I don't know, that is probably a really bad analogy. It's gonna be that easy. This coming from the guy who told me my rules were too hard last night. But yeah, don't forget, by the way, Sunday is my first ever members live stream chat. We're going to be doing that. Gifts are signed randomly. Well, then tell them to get in here, and you'll Zell them $5 for the entry level. There, that's what you need to do. Yes, but. Anyway, don't forget Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm doing my first ever members only live chat and stream, and we will be I don't know why I say we. I don't like speaking in the third person. Sometimes I talk about TC as if he's not in the room, because you never know if he is. He may be watching, but there will be a StreamYard link in a community note, and then also the description of the stream for Sunday. And if you want to come on cam and talk with me, ask me questions, bitch me out for something, you do you, bro. That's what I say, you do you. It's a big auditor news day, and YouTube is acting up. Yeah, I heard Long Island audits got arrested. Is there more breaking news as far as Long Island audits, or are there other people that I need to be aware of? Because I'm not going to tell you I'm shocked that Long Island got arrested. He has a tendency to take it to that level because he's not afraid and he doesn't back down just to avoid it. But he does his level best to de-escalate, and it doesn't work. So the cops never seem interested in de-escalating, really. And I should say never. There are some, and there are some that handle it well. But yeah, YouTube's acting up. Interesting. I hadn't heard about YouTube acting up, but yeah. So here we sit, right? And I've been saying for a very long time, if you go back to April and May, early May even, I was talking about kind of the double standard in reporting press releases and whatnot from law enforcement. And locally, how they handle information on cases that they have covered, or not covered, excuse me, that's a media term, but how local law enforcement is free with all the information in the world. Was getting arrested for something. So in the case of one particular individual who was busted several times in the course of a few weeks, like multiple times, like on a couple of occasions, ticketed and released for exposing himself and other things twice in the same day. He did that 2 different times. And the media released, or the RPD, Rochester Police Department, released massive amounts of information about the guy. And then when Trooper Shane Roper murdered Olivia Flores on May 18th, pointed out how, very quickly, how restrictive, there it is, how restrictive they were with the amount of information they released. They wouldn't release a trooper's name. They wouldn't release any details. They would just say this is under investigation. And we got no updates. None. And I was digging hard behind the scenes, as most of you know, to get any kind of information. And I finally was able to get it. And then, as most of you know, I released the trooper's background 24 hours before the charges were announced in the report, or the county attorney released his charging documents on Trooper Roper. Yes, arrested twice. Well, arrested and released once in the morning, Snarky, and he was doing a lot more than exhibition. He was exhibiting some stuff in the morning, and then reoffended in the evening after having been ticketed and having had a prior conviction for it as well. He was a gift that kept on giving. And then later, like a week later or something, he did it again, like twice in the same day. And it takes forever for them to haul these pervs in, as many of you know if you've been paying attention to my conversations about Chase Johnston and the hell that they've put him through, and the fact that he's now looking at 10 years in prison for what is ostensibly a disagreement with a pedo, when you've got to explain him. Yeah. But yeah, so Chase Johnston is an example of just how dirty they are about the amount of information they'll release, and yet what they'll cover up as well. And so you guys, please share out the Chase Johnston video if you haven't yet, that I did on Monday evening, because we're still working on getting it. This is a slow process, by the way, getting the system set up to support his family while he's locked up. And also, don't forget Angry Vets Battle. Like, that guy's looking at 40 years for a non-crime. And now Long Island Audits is locked up for a non-crime. I don't know Sean, but I know Sean well enough to know that he didn't do anything worthy of being arrested. So, yeah, I don't know. Somebody that I was talking to today, and you know who you are. Hey, Vigilance, good to see you. Was talking about all the stuff that was going on, and I'm at that point where I'm at a loss. I don't know how much more we can talk about this stuff and keep pointing it out, because of just how much people are turning a blind eye. And this all ties into what I want to talk about tonight. People will say the most horrible things, and people will cover for cops, they'll cover for other people who are really the sleazeballs. So I'll give you an example. So I woke up Tuesday morning to a multitude of messages and comments on my Facebook page, basically threatening me with, exposure for backing Chase, because Chase was the guilty party, and Chase was found guilty by a jury of his peers. I'm not going to argue that. In the eyes of the system, he's now guilty because the jury said he was guilty. Why doesn't anyone say the words political prisoners? You're not wrong, Jugs. They are political prisoners. Chase is a political prisoner. Literally right now, a political prisoner. Sean is literally a political prisoner right now. Tav is on the verge of being a political prisoner. We know that the fix is in for him, and we know why Chase was charged and is being imprisoned. It's to silence him. This all goes back, in Chase's case, this all goes back to him exposing Deputy Matt Adamson. That's what this is. This is Chase being being punished, being put in check for exposing Deputy Matt Adamson and having the audacity and the balls to talk about it publicly when Adamson was finally arrested. That's why Chase is in this situation. And we all know that, and there again, as we cover more of Chase's story, we're gonna talk about Chase's tactics. We're gonna talk about Chase's methodology, because Chase and I have talked about it endlessly. I consider him, a friend in that regard. And that's why it hit me so hard when they convicted him, and why it hit me so hard when we're looking at him going away and his daughter, his children growing up without him for 10 years. 10 years, like a decade for you other old people like me. That's a long time, but it's not the same for these girls. They're gonna be damn near adults. In fact, one of them will be an adult, ostensibly an adult, by the time Chase gets out, if he does a full 10 years. And so that what I woke up to were these people attacking me, saying that that I helped Chase set up this guy, which I didn't. I had nothing to do with it. And that I need to stop spreading misinformation because the guy did what he did. And I'll post the screenshots of the comments that were made to me from this guy and others, but in particular this one individual, saying that, yeah, what the guy did was wrong, but it wasn't illegal, so Chase deserves what he got, and he passed up a sweetheart deal. Now, I know Chase well enough to know that if he thought he was truly guilty, if he thought he truly committed a crime, he'd admit it. Chase will tell you, hey, BCNN, it's good to see you. The police wanted to use force, and Chase took that opportunity away from them. Yeah, no kidding. But this guy's coming at me saying that I'm responsible for this person being victimized by Chase, blaming me, saying that I'm spreading misinformation, and then coming at me for releasing the guy's name. Well, the guy's a level 3 registered sex offender. His information, his charges are public. And the guy even said, I'm going to go to prison for releasing this guy's name, and that if one of my followers, I don't have followers, by the way. I hate that terminology. I have friends, and I have some subscribers, and I have hate watchers. But that if one of my followers does something to hurt this guy, I'm going to be held accountable. That's the law. Well, there's a reason why level 3 sex offenders' names are made public in Minnesota by the Minnesota Department of Corrections. It's so the community can look these people up and know where they are on, at least locale-wise, any given time, and avoid them. And that's the stuff that's happening, is that these people have gone so far into the realm of, it just blows my mind, into the realm of bootlicking, into the realm of irresponsible thought process, that they're actually defending a level 3 sex offender, planning to meet with a 16-year-old boy for sex and to get high. I know you're a hate watcher, Bip. I have cult members. Yes, exactly. Finally, I know what to call you guys. But this guy's bringing weed to a 16-year-old so they can get high and have sex. And they're telling me that I'm wrong, and because it's not a crime. And there's some gray area on whether or not that's a crime for a sex offender, especially when they're meeting through electronic communications and on and on and on. And the defense is the age of consent in Minnesota is 16. Now, how does that tie into what I want to talk about today? It ties in because it's this system that we have built, this indoctrination and this ingraining in people of subservience to the criminal justice system, to cops, to judges, to the prisons, and all of that, has made people just absolutely blind and lacking in critical thought. And so they can see something that they know is wrong, and that's what this guy said. Well, yeah, what he was doing was wrong, but it wasn't illegal, so Chase is the criminal. And you could see something that's wrong, and you know it's wrong. Like if that was your 16-year-old boy or girl meeting with a 40-year-old man who was a registered sex offender, you wouldn't be like, oh, honey, don't worry about it. It's not illegal. Age of consent is 16, and I'm going to just let you go off with this man. Like, you wouldn't do that. You would not let your 16-year-old go off with some guy she met on a dating app to have sexual relations and say there's nothing I can do about it. And like if this 40-year-old walked up to your door and said, hey, I'm here to meet your 16-year-old daughter so we can get high and have sex, you would intervene. You would intervene. And if you wouldn't, you're the problem. And I won't ask Snarky. I'll just draw random conclusions. But that's all comes from this mindset of if it's not illegal, it must be okay. Even though I say it's not okay, it's still I'm still saying it's okay because it's not illegal. And that all comes from this bending of the knee to the legal state, that to anything that the state says, anything that the state does is therefore okay. It's a-okay as long as it's codified. And so if a cop does something, it must be right. So last week, the most recent story is September 18th. So 7 days ago, a Rochester news station, KTTC, released an updated story about an accident involving a Minnesota State Patrol officer. There was a two-car accident. One of the people involved in the accident fled on foot. Minnesota State Trooper is responding, and as he's responding to this accident, which was a minor accident, by the way, the very, very minor injuries, if any, it was on a city street. It wasn't on an interstate or on a highway. But the trooper hears about the accident, he responds, and while he's responding, he gets into an accident. And I'll share the screenshots of those as well. So as he's responding, he gets into this accident. They do the investigation, and all they released involving a Minnesota State Trooper. That's it. That is just like what they released on Trooper Shane Roper after he killed Olivia Flores. And I called it out then, and you guys, most of you saw the video I did last week. I think I did it as a drive time dialectic, talking about it on, the philosophy behind it and where that comes from. And everybody was like, hush, let them do their job. Don't rush to conclusions. Don't think just because one killed a girl that they're all bad, that they're all guilty, that they're all terrible drivers. And then they were attacking the other vehicle, the driver of the other vehicle, saying it's clearly the driver's fault, the other vehicle's fault, because look at where the damage is and look how it is. Like, you think you can assess fault in an accident by looking at damage on a car? Most people do. They will tell you in a rear-ending accident. So when you're hit from behind, people will go, look, the damage is clearly to the rear end of your vehicle, so that means you weren't doing something right. You actually think the media covers for police? No, Bib, never, no, never. The media never covers for the police, ever. The media never does that, no. And so people are assessing the damage on the vehicles and already laying blame on the shoulders of the non-law enforcement civilian that was driving, and therefore they had to be responsible. And State Patrol apparently came out right away and said the trooper had his lights and sirens on. And everybody said, look, right there, the trooper had his lights and sirens on, so it's okay. Well, that completely dismisses the reality that the State Patrol as an agency has some very high standards that they clearly don't enforce on how you clear intersections when you're running code, and what you can do and what you can't do when you're running code. And so no one's reported on that again now for a week. RPD hasn't said anything about where their investigation's at all. Not a thing, not a cotton-picking word. And I looked just before I started this stream to make sure that they hadn't done a public release or information release or a public statement of any kind through social media, and they have not. As of the time I started this stream, they had not. But today, at a very busy intersection in Rochester, Minnesota, next to Chick-fil-A that is currently in Rochester, there was an accident that involved 4 cars. No law enforcement vehicles were involved. RPD responded, and within an hour of the accident, KTTC, the same news station that barely touched, clearly didn't push on the story about the trooper last week, already had a statement from a Rochester police officer saying, one, it appears that the person who caused the accident was reading while they were driving. By the way, don't read while you drive. Like, I do these drive time dialectics hand-free, and I do them like I'm talking to somebody in the car. So, but anywho, they have this statement released within an hour that apparently the person who caused the 4-car accident was reading a book, and this officer comes out and says that, and then says, and our primary goal is to end distracted driving, and that means no reading in your cars while you're driving, and that means no eating in your cars while you're driving, and definitely no use of your phone while you're driving. And now that makes me want to use my phone, read a book, and drink. Well, not drink, but drink and eat, like a fast food meal. And that one tells you a lot about what they're going to start using to enforce distracted driving. Can you imagine you're sitting there next to a cop as you're going down the road taking a bite out of a burger, and the cop pulls you over and says you're distracted driving? But what's really important about that information being released that fast was how fast it was released. They already laid the blame on a person for reading a book. Now, I don't know if the person who was reading the book that caused the accident flat out said, yeah, this is my fault. I was reading the book. I admit it. Like, one, don't talk to cops. Yeah, don't cops all do those things? Exactly, by the way. I just put a short video out last week of a state trooper passing me going the opposite direction, clearly looking at his computer while he was driving down the road at 60 miles an hour, easily. If they outlawed eating and driving, I would have to replace my wardrobe. Or you wouldn't have to replace your wardrobe, Sarky. Yeah, I said what I said. But the automatic release of information before the investigation could even be technically considered closed, they had already given a statement to the local media saying it was caused by someone who was reading a book, and here's why you don't do these things. No information about the state patrol. None. We don't know the name of the officer or the trooper involved. We don't know any of the circumstances. Yet, a week later, but within an hour, we have the information on this guy or gal or whatever, as far as what they were doing wrong that caused the accident. And that goes to, by the way, don't talk to cops. I don't care what you did. If you get pulled over, don't answer questions. You just don't answer questions. If you get pulled over, you get in an accident, and they want to start asking you, where were you going? What were you doing? How fast were you driving? Where are you coming from? Don't answer. Don't answer. I don't care if you know you have a dash cam in your car and it proves you're guilty. You don't volunteer that stuff. You don't admit guilt. Make them do their damned jobs. Make them do the work. Make them prove their case. But this moron apparently had to talk. I don't know how else they can do it, unless they were just like holding the book in front of their face and somebody else with dash cam had it. But I digress. That's also, though, part of the subservient mentality that has been beat into people's heads, that when a cop asks you a question, you're obligated to answer. And you're not. You're never obligated to talk to cops. Not at all. You're not obligated to talk to cops on a traffic stop. You're obligated, if you hold a driver's license, it says you're obligated to present this, and you're obligated to present proof of insurance and registration. Which, by the way, blows my mind, because like in the state of Minnesota, I can't register my vehicle unless I have insurance, and that ties my insurance to my registration. So but anyway, just the reality, let the reality set in that we have this information on this individual right now today, and nothing on the accident involving the state trooper. Still. And I'll tell you, the longer it goes, talk to cops, don't be disrespectful. If I talk to the cops, it will be disrespectful. Just be honest. But the longer that we go without hearing anything about this case, the more likely it is that I'm going to draw the conclusion that the trooper was doing something wrong, regardless of the statement from the Minnesota State Patrol Southeast District or whatever it is, that the trooper had his lights and sirens on. And that's what we've got to start to drive home to people, is that, like, one, cops don't get a pass just because they're cops. Like, if they're driving down the road at an incredibly high rate of speed, no lights, no sirens, they're wrong. They are breaking traffic. They're violating traffic codes. That is a traffic violation. If they're driving down the road and they're clearly using their computer, or they're holding a cell phone in their hand and talking on it, that is a distracted driving violation. That violates traffic codes. You don't get a pass for that. You don't get a pass for that. If you're driving down the road, if you're a cop and you're driving down the road and you all of a sudden get called to respond to a situation, your response has to be commiserate with the level of severity of the situation. Somebody calls and says, hey, we've got this person out here that's stranded on the highway with a flat tire and they need some, help because it's a busy interstate, and can we get somebody over there? You say to dispatch, tell them to stay in their car for now, keep their four-ways on. I will proceed at a safe pace, and when I get there and I can put my lights and whatnot on, then they can get out and change their tire. Or better yet, I'll change their tire for them. But, somebody was telling me today about what they witnessed. 2 state patrol officers pass them, lights and sirens. Blew by him. He was literally on the interstate. And he was doing interstate speed. He was doing 70, and they blew by him like he was sitting still. And he got to the next exit ramp and overpass, and they were just going over that to go to a truck sitting on the side of the road that was changing tires. So that's why that example came to mind. But your level of response has to be commensurate with the severity of the situation. Commensurate. Ooh, yeah, I know. I try snarky. Yes. Sometimes I use big words and I use them wrong just because I like to sound important. It would behoove you to understand that. I guess we're all tired of the double standards, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but what matters to me is somebody asked a question last night on Vet Nation of my friend Rebecca Whiting, who's running for U.S. Senate. How do you reach people? And my statement is sometimes it's not about who you reach in the actual conversation that you're having in the moment. Sometimes what matters is the person listening to your conversation. Sometimes people are tuning in and listening to you when you're in a conversation that you don't even know, you're not aware that they're doing that. And you might have that impact on them. And so that's a lot of times why, even though I do some stuff that seems repetitive, I'm hoping that somewhere down the road, somebody will click on this video, listen into what I have to say, and it'll get them thinking. And I love being able to chat with you guys. So I'm pulling into my driveway, and I just wanted to do this video and say hi and tell you guys so much I appreciate everything, all the support and whatnot, and be ready to tune in for sure on Sunday. And who knows, there might be something else that comes up that gives me a reason to do a drive time. So, my friends, until next time, love y'all, appreciate y'all, even my hate watchers. Share this out after it goes back up. Share it out as a video, not just as a stream. Thanks to all the channel members who tuned in. Thanks to all of the moderators who are here. And until next time, Sic Semper Tyrannis.